If you're after a premium midsize SUV, chances are one of these is pretty high on your shopping list. It's the new Mercedes-Benz GLC, and it's one of the most important models the brand will launch this or really any other year. So let's see how it stacks up. This is the second generation of Merc's popular SUV, and while in some ways it's an evolution of what's come before, the available range has been slashed, prices are up, but so are equipment levels. There are plenty of rivals: the Alfa Romeo Stelvio, BMW X3, Maserati Grecale, Porsche Macan and Volvo XC60. So the new GLC will have to be good to sit at the top of the class. Big change number one, there is now only one variant. You can expect an AMG or two in the future and presumably a new version of the electric EQC, but for now, you can have a GLC 300 and that's it. This cull of the lower models, as well as significantly increased equipment levels, leads us to big change number two. Pricing for the new GLC now starts at more than $100,000. This large price hike is partly due to all the previously optional packages now being made standard, as according to Mercedes, buyers were selecting them anyway. On the outside, the AMG line kit is standard for the first time and includes 20-inch wheels, larger front brakes, AMG front and rear bumpers and side skirts, twin exhaust tips and this fancy grille. This is in addition to LED headlights and wheel arch linings in body colour, which is also a first rather than the usual contrasting black. Happily, a choice of colour is mostly free, though a couple of the fancy manufacturer paints are an extra $1,500, while painting the wheels black is $1,000. Under the bonnet, you'll still find a 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, but outputs are up to 190 kilowatts and 400 newton meters, which is enough for 0 to 100 in a hot hatch-baiting 6.2 seconds. While a 48-volt mild hybrid electrical system means claimed fuel consumption is down by half a litre per 100 Ks. The AMG line treatment continues on the inside, so we've got these huggy seats, we've got the same steering wheel you'll find in proper AMGs, lots of leather coated surfaces, silver chrome switchgear including these lovely backlit air vents. It all helps justify that elevated price tag.
As does the level of equipment. Giant digital screens, head-up display, huge sunroof, heated memory seats, it's all standard, and the lack of traditional gear lever gives plenty of storage options in the centre console.
The giant infotainment touchscreen is lifted from the C-Class, and I think that with a bit of familiarity, most people will find it pretty intuitive to use. It also looks very snazzy with smartphone mirroring. Another thing to mention is that while yes, Mercedes has migrated the physical aircon controls into the touchscreen, it also kind of hasn't, because it's always here rather than being buried in a sub-menu. That means that your regular fine adjustments like fan speed, recirc or temperature are still a one-touch operation.
It's a premium feeling cabin. Surfaces that you think might be plastic are leather, there's some nice design touches, especially around the doors, and the ambient lighting bathes the interior in a colour of your choice. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard, as is the Hey Mercedes voice activation, app connectivity and more, but if you want the premium Burmester stereo and augmented reality satellite navigation, you'll have to stump up an extra $7,000. Likewise, that Plus package includes some of the more advanced driver assist systems, though it's still pretty loaded in standard guise.
There's pretty decent room in the back, though if you're really tall you might struggle for headroom a bit thanks to the sunroof, but that aside, it's really pretty basic back here given the price tag. We've got air vents, a couple of ISOFIX points, but no USB ports, no separate temperature controls, no heated seats, and some of the materials are a little bit cheap given we're looking at $100,000. This might be a mid-size SUV, but the boot is pretty darn big. Thanks to the new GLC being 60mm longer than its predecessor, it's all basically been added back here. It's nice and family friendly, and if you drop the rear seats, the space really becomes pretty impressive for this segment of car, while underneath the floor here, we've got a space saver spare. Two things really stand out to me when driving the new GLC 300, and the first of them is the engine. Adding the 48-volt mild hybrid system to the 2-litre Turbo 4 has made it feel really sweet and strong. It's had a similar effect on all Merc's engines. There's an electric motor between the engine and transmission that can give you a bit of extra grunt in certain circumstances. There's also an overboost function that can give you 210 kilowatts for short periods of time, such as when you're overtaking. So subsequently, this is a pretty brisk car. The other great thing is the steering. It's very nicely weighted, it's quite quick, very accurate. This makes it easy to place the car and to lean on the car. The combination of this with the engine makes the GLC feel quite dynamic for what it is. Today's drive loop has basically been exclusively on country back roads, so this semi-sportiness has been quite welcome, but it does mean that I can't tell you a whole heap at the moment about what the car's like in, say, a traffic jam or the inner city. The question mark for me revolves around the GLC's chassis. It doesn't have adaptive dampers, and traditionally Mercs have benefited quite a lot from this addition. The new EQE electric sedan is a good example of this. The 53 AMG is firmer, but actually rides better than the regular variants. The GLC handles quite well. There's decent grip, it's well balanced, the all-wheel drive system is slightly rear biased, it's enjoyable to drive, especially on these sweeping high-speed roads we're on today. Where I'm less convinced is the ride. I don't mean that in the sense of it being uncomfortable per se, but it can be a bit unsettled and sort of jostle you around, especially on poor surfaces. This behaviour has probably been exacerbated by some of the choppy country roads we've been on today. Perhaps at urban speeds it's less of an issue, but it's one of those things. I'd suggest taking it for a decent test drive, as maybe for you it'll be no problem whatsoever. Maybe, like me, you'll wish it was a little bit better.
The new Mercedes-Benz GLC is bound to be a winner. It's not perfect for some of the reasons I've mentioned, but it has plenty of showroom appeal. Even if it doesn't tempt buyers from other brands, I can see plenty of current GLC owners trading up without a second thought. Thanks for watching.